the backbone of America.
All right, welcome to the Backbone of America podcast. Today I'm going to be interviewing Ryan Stewman. Ryan is a well-known entrepreneur, sales trainer, and motivational speaker. He's the author of multiple books, and he is the founder of Hardcore Closer. Ryan, thank you for being here today. Why don't you give me a short summary of your main line of business?
So I own a few companies. Didn't start them all at the same time. Just they've evolved over time into three different companies. But I own a software company called Phone Sites, where you can build a website on your phone with no training in about 10 minutes. And then I own a lending company called Closer Capital, where we do all sorts of commercial finance, things of that nature. And then I own a business association filled with entrepreneurs that teach and train and network with each other and help each other grow their businesses and their personal lives. So called Apex.
Understood. All right, I guess for the sake of this conversation, I'm big in the finance business, as you know. Tell me about the types of credits and individuals that you finance, and why you think it's a good opportunity, I guess, to be in this space today.
Well, I've been in finance since 2004. I started in mortgages and did really well in mortgages. In 2010, when they put all this new paperwork and everything in, it was a weird time for mortgages. So anyway, long story short, I went on to really be one of the first guys to start building a business on social media. I know that's like normal common sense thinking now, but back in 2008, 2010, nobody was doing that. So by 2011, I was showing other mortgage guys I had left the mortgage industry and was showing guys that were still in industry how I'd done a bunch of business on social media, which coincidentally started a whole industry of course creators, masterminds, and all the stuff that you see today. A lot of that's my fault. And I think it's really cool that happened, but flash forward to 2023, I'm seeing all these guys that are influencer type of people in the business world. They're always raising money for deals and asking their audience to give them money. And there's some good ones like Cardone, who's been, a good steward of people's money. And then there's a lot of people getting ripped off and stuff. And I thought, well, I want to do something different. And with my skill set, I can come into the marketplace and offer money to people as opposed to trying to get money from people and make money in the meantime. Everybody's always going to need a loan. And what most entrepreneurs, I've had 88,000 people buy our products. And what most entrepreneurs don't have is like a banking connection. A lot of them are with Chase Bank or Bank of America, and they're not going to loan you money for your business. And if you don't have all your ducks in a row and all the things that most entrepreneurs don't, it's very hard to get a loan from a traditional source. So what we do is we help people get on the elevator of being a bankable business. So we help them get capital infusion loans, lines of credit, SBA. We've got a deal today where a guy bought a commercial building and we did the loan on that. So pretty much, anything business related, if we can't do it, then we've got someone like yourself that we can outsource it to, that's in our network that can take care of people. So we just became a hub for all things money. And it's been a big blessing because we're working with entrepreneurs, teaching them how to create what we call a bankable business, to where eventually you can go to Wells Fargo and get a, multiple $1 million line of credit to scale your business with at a paper rate. But just like, when you bought your first car or your first house, you didn't get the best deal because they had no credit history in order to give you the best deal. But by the time you got your second, third car, second, third house, you're getting A paper rates, lowest down payment. You're a bankable person. Well, people know how to do that because our parents teach us that as people, but it doesn't happen. A lot of entrepreneurs don't have a mentor that teaches them how to become bankable. So that's what we do. And on top of all that, since I've had all these courses and things that help entrepreneurs over the years, we offer that as a service to folks that qualify and take over $100,000 loan from us. Then we put them in the community and have them in their own accredited segment as well. So we teach them marketing, training, the things that will help them compound the money that we gave them.
Yeah, very cool. I heard that you mentioned that name Cardone. Actually, he's been one of the more successful ones, as you know. Looking back actually at your social media, I noticed that you interviewed him probably when he was first getting started, right? I know that interview was probably going back 10 years ago, I think.
if you watch that video, I think that's the video. It may be another one on there where he's telling me that I'm wasting time on social media. But then, like 5 years later, that's how he became a billionaire, literally through social media. It just took him.
Yeah, yeah.
Back then, he
He was
didn't.
in I think he was somewhere in some hotel room.
Yeah.
Is that
Yep.
the one?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I was like, man, Cardone looks young in this video. How old is this video? But now that you
Almost
mentioned
20
that you were
years.
doing this in 2007, I mean, yeah, you're probably one of the guys that go back the furthest. And it was a time where you thought this is going to go away. This whole social media thing is for kids and it'll never pick up. And nowadays, that's what you do all the time. Nobody's watching TV at night. They're on
Yeah.
social media. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I knew that was gonna happen. I knew that in 2008, man, and the hardest job I've ever had in my entire career was trying to convince people from 2010 to 2014 that this wasn't going anywhere and it wasn't MySpace, and it is the biggest thing to ever happen to the human race, and it is the biggest breakthrough on the internet so far. And man, it was hard to convince business owners because if you remember, back then, a lot of business owners said, "Oh no, I'm not getting on social media. I don't want my company on." So they were scared of reviews. They were scared of negative this, that, and the other. It's like, bro, this gonna happen regardless. Like they're gonna whether you're on there or not. If somebody's gonna talk bad about you, they're gonna talk bad about you on Facebook. So you might as well be on there and capitalize from the good part of it as well. You know.
Agreed, agreed. Well, look, talking about game changers, how do you feel about AI in your line of business? I mean, are you worried that it's going to impact you, or do you think finance will just not be one of those areas that's impacted?
Um, you know, I'm glad you asked that because I'll give you a big answer here that will help your audience. Um, we are in the transition between Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. So Web 1.0 is like emails and websites. Web 2.0 is social media. Which is obviously where we're at right now. Web 3.0 is blockchain and AI. Now we're towards the end of social media. What I mean by not like what we were talking about just a second ago, but as we know it, we are towards the end of it. Here within the next my predictions within the next 3 years, we will have these meta glasses, like I have a pair, and they will have screens on them like we've seen in movies forever. And we won't need phones and stuff. They will all just work on the glasses that we wear or some sort of wearable technology. All of these things are starting to happen already, right? AI, the blockchain, I think all of the transparency of people's financials are going to be on the blockchain. And I think that's a good thing for all of us. It just keeps everybody on a note. And it'll be blockchain, you have to have a wallet number and everything to track it. But I think that putting everything on the blockchain would create a lot of transparency. And I think our government's headed that way. Now, as far as AI, am I worried about it? No. Am I embracing it? Yes, because I was telling people in 2012, if you don't embrace social media, your competition is going to put you out of business if they do. And it's really the same thing for AI right now. Like if it's 2025 and you're just now going, dude, I think we need to get on social media for our business. Like, bro, you missed a 15-year growth spurt. It's max capacity now. Everybody who's going to get
Yeah.
on Instagram is on Instagram. Everybody who's going to get on Facebook is on Facebook. You miss the gold rush. Doesn't mean it's too late to get in, but you miss the gold rush, right? Now AI is the next gold rush. And what I mean is most people think AI is Chat GPT, but right now I'm using Chat GPT to write for me, design for me, give me ideas, make business plans. It's coaching me, it's my therapist. I talk to Chat GPT hundreds of times a day. I don't even use Google anymore. I get all my information, my news stories, my creative ideas. It's the best assistant I've ever had, and it costs me $29 a month. On top of
Mhm.
that, we have technology that calls out and sets appointments, and the person on the other end of the phone is having a real live conversation with AI that sets. So if you're not, and think about this, my AI setter doesn't miss a phone call. I don't have to ask it why it didn't make 500 dials today. I don't have to pay for health insurance. I don't have payroll taxes on it. I don't have sick days. I don't have maternity leave. I don't have any of this shit. And it costs me about $99 a month versus $10,000 to $12,000 a month. And so, look, I can see the writing on the wall, whether I'm a lender or a business association, doesn't matter. If I don't embrace this, then my competitors could likely do this. They can embrace it. And now instead of $12,000 a month for an employee, they're paying 200. And so that means that they can either try to increase their revenue by keeping their rates the same and then have a ton more money than I do if I don't have AI and I'm paying for the old school way. Or they could beat all my rates because now they don't have commissions and overheads to pay out to everybody in the team. So I understand these things. So we're putting those in place now. And it's a really messed up thing because as a business owner, we're taught not to have emotion. We're to say, "Hey, business is business. Don't have any emotion." And I'm an emotional guy. I have a lot of feelings and stuff. That's just how I am. And it sucks that thinking in the future I might have to part ways with some employees just because there's literally something better out there that can replace them. But I've also always preached that if you're the employee that learns how to deploy these bots to make sales for you, then why would I ever get rid of you if you're the one that adapted the technology and got it working for the company here? Why wouldn't we cut you in on the money that thing makes? So I try to also teach my employees to
Yeah,
think not how they
absolutely.
can get replaced by it, but how can they replace themselves by it?
Yeah, yeah. No, the world's changing. You mentioned ChatGTP replacing Google. I definitely think at some point that was a threat to them. I don't know how they'll react. Everybody's now in the AI race. I mean, you've got, my goodness, you got the government talking about a crypto like fund for the country.
Yep.
I know Meta was going with the glasses. I think they've kind of backtracked. Zuck thought maybe I've taken this too far. The stock price was kind of hurting them. But I think he's still headed in that direction. But anyways, let's get back here to what we do. When you're in the finance business and you're getting these applications, do you ever see a business that you really like and you consider taking equity on it, or do you just operate as a financial broker?
No, just a financial broker. That's the other thing. There's two things that I don't like about the social media world, right? The one is everybody's raising money for their business or project, and the other is, everybody's wanting to consult for equity or whatever. And I wouldn't want to give someone equity in my business, and so I don't want to be the person to ask for equity in other people's business too. But I'll do everything that a business partner that's getting equity does. We'll fund the thing, we'll loan the money, we'll give them the training, the support, all the stuff that they would get from that without them having to sacrifice the equity. Because let's say they give me 5% equity and 5 years down the road, the CEO comes up with a brilliant idea and that takes that company to $100 million. They're going to regret paying me money for something that I didn't really earn,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, there's no doubt about that. Now, to scale your business, are you ever considering taking the profits and maybe becoming a direct lender, or you want to scale the brokerage?
No, that's absolutely the plan. So, because when we have really smart people and the ability to get our own in-house underwriter, so when the time comes and we have the capital, and we'll probably take off smaller deals in the beginning when we do go direct. But I also like not having my own capital at risk, so there's a big benefit to that too, to where, we don't have, I know the upsides more and you can, underwrite deals and stuff like that. But I do sleep pretty well at night knowing it's somebody else's money at risk, not mine.
Yeah, with us in the private credit, for example, I've never done the brokerage, but I figured if I can do the brokerage for deals that they do okay and the rates are low, I don't want my money earning that. But every so often you see a deal that you're like, somebody needs to get this funded. This makes a whole lot of sense, but it just doesn't meet the criteria for the bank. And
Yeah.
that's what I think, that's why I think it's important that private credit exists, because there's a lot of deals that make sense that just banks won't be able to do because of the regulation that they have, even though a lot of that regulation is coming off right now, but we'll see how that goes.
In
Let's move on.
reality, it's hard to find a guy like you. You know what I mean? You do private credit, obviously, and unless somebody knows you that knows that person to send you a referral or whatever, you know what I mean? It's this world is very, very private because, like you said, you have a good size fund. Shoot, 10 or 15 good deals that could come in there could wipe that out for the next 2 or 3 months until you got an ROI on it. So you got to kind of, and nothing's worse than, let's say you got $100 million and you just loaned out 40 of it, and then a guy comes in and needs 80 and it's the best deal you'll ever get with the highest ROI, and now you're 20 light, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Well, we could always syndicate it. If we
yeah,
the bad thing for me, I guess, is that I don't have a lot of partners that are check writers. I always like to deal with individuals that I say, hey, listen, are you an individual that if I call you with the right deal, you can write me a check? Those are the individuals that I'm looking for.
yeah,
Not the ones that are going to ask me for the balance sheets or the financials and the application. I just want to say, listen, I'm going to give you a summary. If it makes a whole lot of sense, will you write me a check? If the answer is yes, we go into due diligence. But no sense in doing all that due diligence up front if in the big picture it doesn't make sense to continue.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Waste everybody's time.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go to discuss talented individuals. Before we got on this podcast, I mentioned to you, that we had a big gamble. Well, not a big gamble. We had a big investment into Reeds because we really do think that individuals are going to come back to the office, at some point. Maybe not all of it, but a big chunk of it. And you told me that some of the most talented people that you have are not working in the office or working remote. Is that because you need to find talented people elsewhere, or is it because people don't want to come to the office?
It's not that they don't want to come to the office. I think the people that work remote, if this was close by to them, they would come here absolutely. But we've got an awesome building that the people who do work here work out of. But I'm in Dallas, Texas, and they're moving Wall Street here. So the stock market, there will be a Dallas stock exchange here real soon. And Dallas has always been a financial mecca in the United States. A lot of people don't realize that. They just think Dallas is a big city, but Dallas was built on Houston's money from oil. We were the financial guys, they were the oil guys originally. That's how Dallas came about. And so here I'm competing against Charles Schwab's world headquarters, Toyota's world headquarters, Chase's world headquarters, Goldman Sachs's world headquarters, the stock exchange that's moving here. And every month you see a company like Tesla that's moving hundreds of thousands of employees to Texas. So uh, it's hard to compete against those companies because I don't have unlimited budgets and huge departments and all of that. So it gets difficult to recruit talent here just because of where I'm at and the type of business I'm in. But what I found that works for me is, I can find people that are, let's say we've got a guy in Alabama who is in a remote area in a rural part of Alabama. He's a hard worker. He's a sharp guy. There's not a lot of opportunity around him geographically. He works his ass off in his house for us and makes good money.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, aren't the Teslas of the world aren't those guys also recruiting remotely?
I would imagine. Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, right. I mean, those are the ones those were the first ones to say, hey, we want everyone safe. We want them working from home. It was a lot of the small businesses that were kind of like just forced into doing this, but they kind of took the lead on that. But it
Yeah,
is interesting that you mentioned that. I mean, again, whenever you find a talented individual, you make it work because you know that, the 80-20 rule is real. 80% of your sales are coming from 20% of your individuals. And if that individual has to move because he wants to be close to family or his spouse has a job somewhere else, you're not going to lose the guy. You're gonna try to make it work remotely. But yeah, I like people in the office, but I'm not opposed to having them remote if they are on some kind of hybrid role, salary plus commission, or it's a proven individual. But to
yeah.
just start from zero remote, I don't know. Maybe in our line of business, finance, it's a lot easier, but there's all kinds of roles. Administrative, I don't know about administrative, but we'll see. So far, the world hasn't fallen apart. It's been what, almost 4 or 5 years now since the pandemic. Everybody thought, that this wasn't going to work out. It was going to be a big, like a really bad social experiment, but it's kind of stuck around a lot longer than I remember. At least a lot longer than the people saying that we were never going to use oil and gas because everything was going to be digital, and everybody was going to be walking around with glasses, and just talking to people in their living room by themselves, not even using a car. But most things have gone back to normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think with the new president, under our previous president, I think I don't think I know entrepreneurs were they were worried and I know that I felt like and a lot of people that I know that own businesses felt like at any given moment either Biden or Kamala could lock the country down again and we saw what they did to the J6 people so there's no outlet to voice. You can't protest against it. They really put everybody in a bind. And I think a lot of people were just like, man, shit, maybe we're never going back to the office. Maybe we're never getting back to normal. This is the new normal. And that was very scary for them. But then when, Trump comes in with all the complete opposite of all of that, I think what happens is people, they're like, yeah, we should get together. We should be in the office. We shouldn't be like, think of the things that we've been told by uh, people we're supposed to trust, whether the media or government. We've told eggs were bad for you. Eggs are a superfood. We're told beef is bad for you. Red meat is great for you, right? We're told that nicotine's bad for you. Nicotine's a super drug. We're told that all of these things, and now we're looking at, we're told, hey, stay away from people, 6 foot distancing. We know we need to get outside and get vitamin D in the sun. We know we need to be around people to get good energy and vibes. Like being alone and away from people is how they punish people in prison in solitary confinement. That's not
Yeah.
how you're supposed to do life in the world, and so I think the pendulum just swung too far one way, and I think we're seeing it swing back to normal, which is people working in offices, people being around each other. But I think it took so long, like what you're saying, is because, man, I mean, for 2.5 years, I listen to entrepreneurs go, well, man, things ain't as good as they were a couple years ago. Well, man, shit's hard. I had to refinance some debt on these apartments I own, and now the interest rates double. And you know what I mean? That's hard for people. I remember listening to Ben Molla say he was losing 30 million a month in interest adjustments on his hotels that he owns. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, if there's one thing that this pandemic did, and the government obviously at the time, was it's polarized everything. You know, some individuals have done incredibly well, and then some people have done terrible.
Yeah.
So it's kind of pissed off a lot of people because you see the divide. You know, the rich are getting richer, and then the poor are getting poor. So people are going to be upset about that. You know, and yeah, they kind of handcuff some of the industries, and it's been a problem. But anyways, we're not here to discuss that. Let's discuss a couple other things. Let's see. I wanted to ask you something. You seem like a high energy kind of guy. Um, if today you had to start from zero again, would you get into the same industries you're in today? Did you stumble across them, or do you analyze that on a week to week or month to month basis and say, maybe I should change my industry. Maybe this isn't the future. Something else is the future. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, pretty much every entrepreneur should be asking themselves, like we ask ourselves that for one of two reasons. It's been a bad day, and you're like, dude, should I even continue to do this stuff? Or it's one of those things is like, hey, is my industry evolving? Am I going to be around in 5 years? And if not, then I probably need to make another play. But for me, if I had to start all over and I didn't have any connections, I didn't have my social media or any of that stuff, and I was starting all over, I'd knock doors and sell roofs here in Texas.
Yeah,
Um, so many
back to the
people,
trades, huh?
dude, so many people don't understand that there's guys making 100 grand a week selling roofs, knocking doors out here. And it's not just one or two. I've got a bunch of people in the Apex that make crazy numbers. Matter of fact, in the last 2 years, 3 years in Apex, we've had $2.5 billion worth of exits with another 2 billion expected this year from our members. Doesn't have anything to do with me. It's just people that are in the network. And they're
Wow.
all roofers. So, I've watched those guys. So if I had to, I know how to go assemble a team, knock doors, make insurance claims, and I'd have that shit up and running within a month, and it wouldn't cost me anything because I already own a paid off truck and a ladder. So you don't have to have a license in Texas. You don't have to do anything. And that's why there's like 100,000 roofing companies here. But the average guy goes and makes 5 or 10 grand a month, and he's happy. That's a good living for him, as a roofing guy or whatever. I see these guys that have made hundreds of millions and know the opportunity there. It's just that it would be a real dick move at this point for me to go compete against all the guys that I help come up. You know what I mean? I just, I have so many clients and stuff that I respect. I wouldn't want to do that. And that also puts me in a weird position because I can't really, I wouldn't want to just team up with one because there would be 1,000 others go, dude, what about us? So it's an
Mm.
industry that I can't get in currently, that I'm thankful for. But if shit went out the window, it'd be the first thing I jumped in.
But you're saying become a general contractor, just get the jobs and then sub it all out.
Yeah, the roofers here, how they do it is Texas is an insurance state. So that means right now, if you could look out the window, you'd see the winds probably blowing 20 miles an hour today. We've had really bad winds for the last week. That's going to mess up a lot of people's roofs, and insurance pays for it. So these guys knock your door, go up, say, hey, yeah, your roof's messed up. Insurance will pay for it. They fix it, bill insurance. It's a free roof for the homeowner, and they make about 10% commission.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
We
if
see a
you're in
lot of
North
that. Sure.
Texas, if you're in North Texas, the average house is $500,000. You talking about a $30,000 roof, so you're making 3 grand a pop. You sell, one roof a day. That's $1 million a year.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Agreed. Tell me about some books you've read. What are some books you really recommend?
Um, So I've written, if for the listeners out there, I've written a lot of books. They're on Amazon. I lost track of how many there are at this point, but there's a lot on different subjects. I try to write a book each year. But some of the best books that I've read, I read a book a year ago by Tommy Mello called Elevate, and it's about taking care of employees and helping them climb the ladder and building culture. It's probably the best book that I've ever read on that, as far as how to manage. And it's a book that's not a bunch of 30,000 foot view. It's a lot of granular how to do it. Great book though. Um, and it's 75 hard, or I'm sorry, the book on mental toughness is the last book that I read by Andy Frisella. Great book, a lot of good insight there on just how to be mentally tough and callous your mind. I don't read a lot anymore. I used to. I probably read 1,000 books or so, but lately, for the last year or so, I've been listening to podcasts all the time. So I
Yeah, me
listen
too.
to Patrick Bet
That's a
David.
trend also that I've noticed that people don't have books anymore. They listen to them in their car, they're in the bathroom and they're listening to a podcast, something like
Yep.
that. Yeah, yeah, I agree that that's a good trend. Makes it
Yeah,
probably maybe good for an
it's easier.
entrepreneur to get in that.
Yeah,
Well, you know what? I think Netflix is now considering getting into that business, into content creator kind of business. Instead of doing professionally made movies, I think that they see it coming, and Netflix has just announced that they're getting into that.
yeah, because the average creator, like let's take YouTube. If you're like watching YouTube, the average creator is they're making good content on there. The ones that are getting, their stuff seen and stuff, they're making good content that I could see being worthy of being on Netflix. Some of these guys that'll do, like I watched this show on YouTube. I'm a redneck at heart, but this guy is called Matt's Towing, and so they're in Utah and they have all these tow trucks and they get people that are stuck in ruts off roading and stuff. And I love watching that. But the way that they record it could totally be a Netflix series, a reality show on Netflix easily. And then you've got guys like Andrew Schultz, who has that studio that he does the podcast, or Joe Rogan that has the studio he does the podcast. Those kind of shows could totally be on Netflix. Matter of fact, I quit watching Netflix. I have a subscription to it, but they never have anything that I want to watch on there. I'm spend 99% of my entertainment time on YouTube.
Yeah, me too. You know what it is? I think it might be that like I don't have an hour and a half to watch a movie.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
might
that's
I
true
might
too.
just get on it I'm in there for a couple minutes, and before you know it, obviously sometimes I do spend an hour and a half, but that 3 minute clip got me hooked on something, and then
Yeah.
I just kept sliding and sliding. But
And it's
yeah,
interactive. A movie's not interactive. YouTube, you can look at comments, even from your TV. You can, share it with people. You can like, there's just it's inter. You can, like you said, go down a rabbit hole. You can be like, oh wow, that cave. Well, let me see what other videos are out there about that cave or
yeah,
whatever the case. So
yeah. So I see it. I mean, I don't know. Netflix stocks, it still keeps going up. But as far as
you'd
I'm
be
concerned, I remember
surprised.
like one day I was like, I don't watch TV anymore. And lately I've been like, I'm not watching Netflix a whole lot anymore.
Yeah.
I really enjoy some of this content creation that some of these amateur guys are doing, but it's good stuff and they're getting better and better at it. The technology is there for them.
Yep.
And now with the AI, I mean, now they have all kinds of tools at their fingertips that before would cost millions of dollars for one of these production companies to have. So, I think there's an opportunity there for sure.
Yep. I agree 100%.
Tell me
That
about someone you look up to in this business.
there's I've had the fortune of meeting a lot of very important people and a lot of celebrities, a lot of famous business people. I know most of the guys that have giant followings on Instagram that are business leaders on a personal level. And so the people I'm about to name are not to be taken lightly. They are because there's a lot of people I met that you find out, and I'm sure you've been around this too. You're like, oh, that person's not as cool or who I thought they were. And I've met a lot of people like that. But over the years, Andy Frisella is probably the number one guy that I look up to. Like him and his brother Sal. They run First Form, and I say it's the strongest brand in America. It's the way they run the company. I mean, they're just amazing business operators, amazing humans, personally and online. And another guy is Patrick Bet David.
Yeah.
Patrick's oldest son and my middle son were in the same class before Patrick was famous, so I've known him for a long time, and I've had the fortune to be mentored by him. Really smart, super sharp, deserves everything he's got right now. Good dude and good family guy. Milet is another one. Ed Milet, I've known him for shit 6 years now, which is crazy to say. 7 years now. And Milet is as real as it gets. He's a caring, awesome individual. But those three guys are and I've met, like I said, all of the speakers and everything over the years, but those three guys have been the ones that for the last, 7 to 10 years that I've been around and like, hey man, these guys are the real deal. They are who they say they are. I've partied with them, I've hung out with them, and I've done business with them on one level or another, and they all are exactly who I thought they were. They're great people.
Understood. Yeah. I didn't know Patrick Bet-David was in the Dallas area.
Well, PHP's here. His insurance company's headquarters is here in Dallas.
I didn't know that.
So, matter of fact, Thursday night, his number one sales guy at PHP is Matt Sapala. Matt is a personal friend of mine too. Patrick and I helped get Matt's kid into our private school where our kids go. Pat lives in Florida now, so he moved to Florida 3 years ago, but he lived here in Plano, across the street from my office actually. And our kids went to school. So now Matt, his top guy, because PHP's headquarters is still here. What you see in Florida is Valuetainment. So that's Patrick's company. He sold PHP, his insurance company. He has a small portion still, but he doesn't run it. Integrity Marketing, which is a big multi-billion-dollar conglomerate here in Dallas, runs it. So, but anyway, Matt is having a party here at my building. We rent it out to the public for their seminars and events. We have a 300-person auditorium. So Matt's actually throwing a PHP event here Thursday.
Very cool.
Yep.
Tell me about maybe one of the hardest challenges you face today.
Uh,
What do you spend your day, doing, worrying about? I mean, Elon Musk is always saying that every entrepreneur should be focusing on the hardest problems. I mean, what's the hardest problem for you, in your opinion, to scale, if that's your goal?
Man, my problem is it's me, because I'm not good at hiring people or really leading employees that well. Like I have some kind of mental block that like if I'm paying you, Bruno, I shouldn't have to tell you what to do. The money should tell you what to do, and the SOP should tell you what to do. I shouldn't have to manage you. And that's always a struggle with me because I don't correct well, because I correct instead of, I know you're supposed to be corporate and go, Bruno, I would appreciate if we could get more work out of you. I'm the type of guy to go, bro, I'm fucking paying you. If you can't do this job, I'm gonna fucking replace you with somebody who can do. Get it together or not. I'm not here to sugarcoat. And you know what? A lot of people say, dude, I want to work for that until that's in their face. And I'm having to tell them, hey man, you're not doing what I'm paying you 60, 80, 90, 100 grand a year. I'm getting $30,000 worth of work. Guess how long I'm gonna lose money on that investment?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Need to correct this.
but what's difficult is I talk to them this way in interviews and everything else. I'm not going to be different once you get here. And everybody's like, no, man, I love getting corrected and directed, but it's just not the case, man, because I look at it as like, we have to do this. If we want to pay our bills, if we want to have any kind of lifestyle, if we have to come here for a certain amount of hours or have to make a certain amount of dials or have to make a certain amount of money, like we have to do that shit. None of us really want to. Now, it might be a better job than others, but if all of us didn't have to work and we were billionaires, I'm pretty sure we'd all go for that and figure something else out, right? So we would figure something besides work to do, I'm sure. So the reason why I say that is like, since we have to do this and we have no choice, we might as well do it to the best of our ability or not do it at all, And so
Agree,
that's a
agree.
big struggle with me. Is like, man, I had a guy this morning that I told him the other day, maybe a week ago, I said, hey man, I see you in here shooting Instagram stories and stuff. I'm not paying you for that. I'm paying you to shoot and do our stuff, not for your private stuff. Do that at your house. Don't do it at my building here. All this is mine. I pay it for me. This isn't the work here part-time for me and grow your brand shit. This is 100% mine while you're in this building. Okay, man, I get it. No problem. I go by a couple days later, he's up fucking around recording some shit again in there with himself. Hey man, what are you doing? Like, I'm not paying you to be here recording yourself. I've already told you this once. I want to tell you again. This morning, I see another video on his Instagram where he's in my office recording shit. Hey man, fucking pack it up, bro. And you know, I might be the bad guy in his eyes, but the truth is, dude, the guy blew an 80 grand a year opportunity, moved here from another state, worked here for 3 months. And if I got to tell you 3 times, man, I shouldn't even have to tell you the first time. You should want to respect me, my company, and the money that I'm paying you, and a salary that we agreed to, that when you're here in this building, you're not thinking about anything but how to make this company better, because that's what I'm here doing. And if you're not thinking that way, then you're not a fit for the team, because everybody else is here thinking that.
Yeah, his heart is not into it, you know. I agree.
Yep.
Well, look, you're a successful entrepreneur. How do you define success today?
Um, I don't know, because I mean, you can say material stuff. So let's say once you're a millionaire, right? Then a lot of the problems go away. They don't all go away, depends on what you're trying to do. But let's say once you're a millionaire, I think true success should come from like the fruits of what made you, the results of you being a millionaire. So what I mean by that is, like, if you look at me and you might see that I have a nice car or a big house and be like, he's successful. But what really makes me successful is I have a happy wife and really good kids and friends that I've been friends with for 20 and 30 years, and a big circle of connections that respect me, because I've always been a good steward of their money, their time, their trust, and their secrets, or whatever the case, right? And so, you can say, oh, he's got money, he must be successful. But I believe, oh, I became successful and that's how I got money. And what I mean by that is I became successful at relationships with the right people. I became successful at being a good father for my kids. I became successful at what it's like to be a good husband for my wife. Now, am I perfect? No, but I'm the best husband for Amy Stewman she will ever find. I'm the best father for my kids that they will ever find, right? And I will put my skills up at parenting and husbanding these people against anybody. The same that work for me. Am I the best person to lead the people that work for me in this industry? Absolutely. I believe that, right? And if not, I wouldn't be doing it. So I think that's what success really is like, okay, he can have money, but what has that money done for him to make him successful, right? Like, and that money could be $1, it could be $100 million, but okay, like, I know people that have a lot of money and have terrible kids. I know a lot of people that have a lot, I mean, kids that are, in prison, drug addicts. And look, I'm no angel, but I'm just saying that, like, I didn't have good parents. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
my parents later on in life were semi-successful. They probably make $250,000 a year or so, and combined income. But they now, they didn't, that when I was growing up, but now they probably do. But I didn't have a good upbringing. So I look at people as like, okay, he's got the car, he's got the look, but is his wife happy? I sat with a very wealthy couple 2 years ago at Jerry Jones's private club. I've been a member there forever, and I could tell when the guy was talking. I think I saw his wife roll her eyes like 3 or 4 times, and I went home to my wife and I was like, I don't think they're going to make it. And it wasn't 6 months later they were divorced. You know what I mean? And it's like I just I knew that guy, he was successful in money, but I had that feeling that his ego with all that money was ruining his marriage, and it surely was. And I don't think that's success, because you know what? Let's say that he made $10 million that year. Well, he's five lighter now. you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I understand. Money's not everything, you know.
Uh,
And you only realize that once you have a lot of it, that
Yeah.
you
Or
still
once you
have
lose it all.
problems, you're still not happy. You think that you would have thought that, once you made all that money, you would have a lot more free time, but you realize that sometimes the more money you make, the more you have to work, the more you're concerned, the more sleepless nights that you have, so I understand. One final thing, what's some advice you have to aspiring entrepreneurs?
Start now. I don't think there's going to be much opportunity for entrepreneurs within the next decade. You're going to have, like what Bruno mentioned, you're going to have the have and the have nots. And if you don't get started right now, once the haves start to really, really, really have, you're going to be in trouble. What I mean by that is, if you waited 5 years to start a roofing company and now private equity is not buying anymore, and now Roombas are putting shingles on roofs instead of actual workers, now you got to buy a Roomba and all this other stuff. You can't compete against the guys that sold out. But you got to get whatever that idea is. This is what I believe wholeheartedly with everything I am. whatever that idea that you have in your head, God gave that to you to go execute. He believes you can get it done, or he wouldn't have given you that idea. And the longer you procrastinate, the more likely God is to stop depending on you to make that idea a reality. And he's going to take it from you and give it to somebody else. And they're going to live your dream life on your idea that God gave you first, and they were in second place and ran with it.
Agreed. Ryan, thank you. Thank you for being on the Backbone of America. Hope to have you on here soon, okay?
Yeah,
Take care.
thanks,
God bless.
man.
Made in America.